Alright, so I wanted to showcase a quick takedown of this thing to help those out who may need a little bit of guidance and direction on that. I'm apologizing ahead of time if the lighting is subpar. I need to get like some studio lights or something like that, but I scooted as close to my window as possible so that way we get a lot of natural light in here. Now, how do you take it apart? So, get rid of the magazine first, so that way you can actually do that. I like to rack the slide. And then right there is your takedown button, as I like to call it, which you got to push that out so you can move your takedown lever like that. Move it forward, and you can already see right here that the slide's like, let me out, let me out. So I disassemble this thing upside down, and I'll show you why. You can see, oop, it's being a little stubborn. There we go, just got to give it a good tug. It's because then it helps keep all the guts inside, like so. Otherwise, you know what'll happen? It'll just dump out, and then everything can kind of just flop all over the place. So one thing to note about the barrel, or the barrel assembly, is that there's no like guide rods or anything or like guides built into the slide to keep them together. Literally, you just pull them apart and that's it. And then when reassembling, it's quite simple. You literally just have to like put it back together. That's it. It just kind of holds in place. And like I don't really get how it does it so well, but it's actually pretty nice. You just have to make sure that this plug lines up with that hole, and then that the slots on the nozzle itself, which you can kind of see there's actually some like semi-realistic looking, you know, grooves and whatnot like you would see on the real Desert Eagle, just match up within the grooves on the hop-up chamber. Pretty simple and straightforward. Now, let's say if you were going to try to take the blowback unit or get the nozzle out, what you'd have to do is take out these two rear screws, and then there's one here, a little itty bitty Phillips head right there, and then one across from it. And that should be enough to get this blowback unit and nozzle out as a whole. And if it doesn't, then I would say take out the Phillips head screws and stuff like that that hold on the selector switch mechanism. It may need to come out, but it may not. But as you can see, it does kind of interact within the slide or the blowback unit, so you may need to take it out. I haven't done that yet, but I am going to have to do it once I replace the nozzle, which, by the way, the part that is broken that I was referring to is that part right there. So unfortunately, it needs to stick out like, I don't know how much further, but much further than what it is, because as it sits right now, as you can see a little bit better there, the clean break can't load a BB in. So again, 4 Phillips head screws, possibly the selector switch. Should be a pretty straightforward thing. When taking apart the selector switch, just be careful, because there's probably going to be a ball bearing with a spring behind it, which is what helps it latch into these slots or grooves on the slide. It's probably going to be one on each side. As you can see, there's a scratch mark inside of there, so that's probably indicative of that being on both sides. So just a heads up. Otherwise, the rest of it, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So we'll set that aside, and then this is your barrel assembly with the hop-up unit. To get the hop-up unit out, it's really simple. We just have to get that pin out, which I can't remember which way I'm going to need to hit it, but I'm not really going to need to use a lot of force. Okay, so that was the correct way, because I've already taken mine apart, so it's pretty easy. So this is the pin. Just make sure you hammer out the part with the grooves, the tension, friction-y side, I don't know what it's called. Hammer that side out first, so that way you hit that out, and then that way you're not forcing the grooves all the way through the slot. Otherwise, it's going to be a huge pain in the ass. If it isn't holding well enough, maybe put a thin layer of some tape around this, Loctite, something like that. I don't know. That should help it out just enough. And then it's pretty simple to get the hop-up unit out. Just kind of dump it out or pull it out. And again, this is where your Allen head screw is. It's not... come on, light, get in there. I want to show just how small it is. Whatever, but it's there, and it's tiny. So, if you want to disassemble this thing further, 2 Phillips head screws right there, and then the hop-up unit will split in half, and that's about it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that in another video when I'm actually replacing this. I'll do a little, you know, time lapse of me upgrading my Desert Eagle, because I have a 10-inch inner barrel to go inside of this thing, because I bought the 10-inch, I think it's what it's called, the Raccoon City hand cannon slide kit, or barrel kit, to replace this, so that way it extends it out to like there. And then on top of that, it has 14mm counterclockwise threading to make it so that way I can house a gigantic inner barrel. So when you want to reassemble, it's pretty straightforward. You just dump this back in, it'll kind of hold into place, and then there's the hole. My pin literally can just slide in like it's nobody's business. So the pin's back in, and then I like to reassemble this kind of upside down. So you take your slide, put this up into here. All right, it's mushed together. Okay, so what you need to know about this, see that little fin that sticks out? Make sure that that does not break off. That is critical, because you put that into this slot right to there. So you're gonna put that into the slot. Make sure I have it aligned properly. It'll just kind of click in gently. You just place the recoil spring guide rods on top of those, well, guides, I suppose, in between this nice large fin. Make sure they're kind of pinched together. And then I like to put the slide on while it's also upside down. So you just gotta align it with the frame properly. There we go. And then if need be, kind of just pinch these together. Let's see, kind of gets a little stuck. Boom, now it's together. Back end is flush. Move the lever, click, and it's perfect. Safety's on. Bingo, there we go. And there you have it. It's a pretty simple disassembly, reassembly process. The inner barrel uses the VSR style buckings, so and also inner barrels themselves are VSR style. So there's a lot of upgrade options out there. Just as a heads up, this is one thing I really love about this gun. It's quite simple to disassemble and reassemble. So with that said, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope this gave you some insight. To wrap it up, basically, I would say that this handgun is pretty solid. I really like it. The gas consumption is a little horrendous. The FPS may be too high for your liking, and the accuracy could be better, and it's just big and bulky and heavy. So it'll be a bit of a difficult sidearm to holster up on your waist, and it may even be too big for some people to handle. I have larger hands, so this feels really comfortable to me, like very comfortable. But for other people, this might not be your cup of tea. So just be warned about that. Otherwise, I don't have a whole lot else to say, man. I would say this is a viable piece. It is not a gimmick. It is not a complete piece of crap. And I would say that this is probably one of the better Desert Eagles on the market. Primarily due to the externals actually being nice, unlike the TM ones where they're going to crack, or the KWC plastic slide one, which is just going to crack, and the HFC, which I think you can still get those overseas, which will just crack. So I would say go for it. Just do your own research, make sure you can afford it, make sure if you're going to use it as a primary, that you upgrade the inner barrel and the bucking, and just don't do what I did and cause for your magazines to make the nozzle break, and it should be just fine. And with that said, guys, happy airsofting.